Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who has sent questions, and thank you everyone who is here listening to other people's questions. Remember, if you have a question, chances are somebody else has the same one, so please send it in so you can actually do a service to this entire community. Q&As are my favorite. So I really look forward to answering the questions that I received from you this month. So let's get started. I'm just going to look at my phone so that I can read them, make sure I get them right. So the first question is it okay to ask your child to give you space after a situation happens? Last night, my 3-year-old son got really upset and he hit me in the face. He has a habit of hitting and we've been working on it, but never on my face. The moment he realized what he did, he tried to hug me 3 times, but I pulled him away from me. After we talked, I felt bad that maybe I should have let him, but in that moment, I needed time to myself. So that's a really good question. And I can imagine that a lot of us have, similar situations that happen because when our child, crosses our boundaries, is disrespectful, hits us in the face, usually the last thing we want is them back in our face, right? We get reactive, maybe it hurts physically, and we want that space. So I definitely think that it's okay to ask children for you to ask your child to give you space. I think if you can manage it, and I know that that's hard and it might take some work and some good learning how to self-regulate. The optimal thing to do is if your child feels bad right away and they're wanting to apologize and hug you, I would say try as best as you can to embrace them. And because in that moment, if we don't, right, there could be so many different things that will come up for them. They might feel unloved or, oh no, my parent is going to be really mad at me, especially if they so quickly, feel remorse and feel bad about what they did and want to repair. I think it's really beautiful to be able, to create the space to foster that for them and with them. So if you can, embrace them. But at the same time, right, let's just say it happened and they're not apologizing and you're really upset and you need some time. I actually think it's a power move to be able to say, you know what, mommy or daddy needs some space right now, right? That actually really hurt my feelings, or that really hurt me physically. And I need a few minutes by myself to get myself back together. And I think that that's actually a really important thing to be able to share with your child, because it's modeling for them that it's okay to take space when we need it, right? It's better to take space and bring ourselves to a calm, regulated state than to get really reactive in a moment. And we actually encourage our children to do that, right? Like I've given lots of classes about self-regulation and how a big part of self-regulation is taking a pause and just like giving ourselves space. And we want to be able to give our children space. And it's okay, for us to model that because we're humans, and it's showing our child that, we're human beings. When they become adults, there may still be triggers in their life. For sure there will be, and it's okay for them to take space, but we're also modeling them now as children to that, as a reminder, like when you're upset about something, the best thing you can do is take space. So I think it's absolutely okay to ask for space. It's really a matter of how you do it, right? It's as much as you can. It's not, I'm taking space from you. I'm getting away from you. It's about me needing that space. It's not about putting that back onto your child of what they did wrong. And so because of that, I need space. It's like, I'm hurt, I'm triggered, and I need space right now. And so if you can articulate it in that way, I think it's actually a power move. It's a great way to build connection with your child and to model them taking space on their own when they need it, which is a really important thing for everyone to learn how to do. So definitely, I think that it's okay. Again, but when your child does come to apologize, you really, even if you're still annoyed, you really want to give them grace and accept the apology, right? And acknowledge how much it means to you that they are apologizing and owning their mistake. And you can talk about, what it is that they did. Okay, second question. Let me find it here. When it's time to get your kids in or out of the bath, bed, school, or get them anywhere, but they're playing so nicely together, do you interrupt to keep them on schedule or let them keep playing together? That is a good question too. right? Because especially when we have siblings who fight with each other, which most siblings do, it's very, very normal. We see them playing together and like, we don't want to interrupt it. It's like a magical moment and it's so sweet. And we want to foster that, that connection. And we're kind of probably thinking to ourselves, oh, why couldn't they have done this all day on Saturday or Sunday when they were home rather than just now when we're getting out the door? Or when we need to get them out of the bath to go to sleep. So personally, I think it really depends on what it is that you need to get them to. I don't think there's a black and white answer to this. I think it's really beautiful to do either one. I think it's just important how we do either one, right? If we told our child there's 10 minutes left to playing in the bath, 10 minutes are up and they're playing so nicely. And now it's like, oh, they're playing so nicely, I'm just going to leave them. What happens is we step out of the boundary that we created, which gives room for our child to just go beyond it, right? So it's not what might happen is that then they will, I'm not saying that they're going to start to fight for sure, but you might be pushing the limits a little bit too much, meaning you might be pushing your luck a little bit too much. And it's not about, the luck is the wrong word, but I couldn't think of a better way to demonstrate or illustrate that. But it's like you have this boundary that you put in place and you just want to be able to, you need to honor it. So how can we honor that boundary, but also, acknowledge how beautifully they're playing and just let them keep playing, like if we want them to keep playing. And also, what if you're rushing out the door? So here are some things that you can do and say. The first is, wow, I really love the way that you're playing with those toys. You guys I've heard how you're, going back and forth with each other. And it's really just like, I love the way that you're communicating with each other. I love the way that you're sitting down and playing really nicely together. How does it feel? And this is really good because you get your child to feel, you get them to feel and notice like what's going on in this peaceful moment. So hopefully they'll want to come back to them more and more. How does it feel when you guys are getting along? How does it feel to play so well and nicely together? Because then you can always come back to that later on when they're not playing so nicely or they don't want to play with each other and say, hey, what did you do back that time when you were playing so nicely? Right? Remember how that felt? How can we bring ourselves back to that harmonious dynamic? So you want to acknowledge where they are and what they're doing, right? And if you're getting them out of the bath, you can say something like, like, wow, I really love the way that you're playing so nicely with each other. It's time to get out of the bath. Can you continue this as you get into pajamas? How can you continue this, as you get into pajamas? How can you continue this until bedtime? How can you continue this up to the time that we need to go to sleep, right? Like, give them the space to continue playing with each other, help them transition out of the bath and into the next stage, but to keep that dynamic. It may or may not work. Okay. And if it doesn't work, as annoying as that might be for you as a parent, just remember that your children are learning how to go through these transitions. Your children are learning how to, have dynamics with other people, how to have relationships with them. So you didn't mess anything up. You didn't ruin it by having them get out of the bath. It's all part of the learning process for children and their parents. So if they're playing really nicely and you have to get somewhere, you definitely want to use that language like, wow, can we continue this like play into the car, right? How can we continue this as we go? What does that feel like? What can that look like? If you do have time and it isn't like a set boundary thing, right? Then maybe you can give them some more time, right? You just see them playing, just like, don't interrupt. Like, you had a plan to work on an art project, but it wasn't something that you said necessarily. It was just something that was in your mind. Just let them keep playing. Absolutely. Free play is amazing. And if your children are getting along, then, oh, I love it, right? Just always being mindful of boundaries, being mindful of, even though they're playing really nicely, at any moment that energy can shift. I don't believe too much in getting involved and controlling it. So you definitely can just allow your children to like be, to be in control and to like take it where it's going. Just I think always in the high moments, it's really nice to ask our children, like, how does this feel? Wow, I noticed that you're playing so well together. How does that feel? What does that look like? What is it? So, what is it that is allowing you to play so nicely with each other that you're really loving it, because it just helps them to get back into that mode next time. Okay, third question. Let me just find it. Okay, so this is a really good question. I get asked this a lot. What do I tell people when they ask me, like, why I'm not disciplining my child because of this conscious parenting stuff? So this is a really good question, because a lot of the respectful, gentle, conscious parenting that we teach here, that we learn here, is very different than the way many of us were grown. And so a lot of times grandparents have a lot to say about it. Perhaps even friends around us have a lot to say about it, because it's something that is growing and many more people are learning about it, which is so beautiful, but not everyone is there yet. So when somebody comes critically, or even if it's a spouse comes critically and is like, well, what happened? What about discipline, right? You're being gentle and respectful. What about discipline? Conscious parenting is not lacking discipline. Now, I'm not going to go to the definition of discipline right now, but discipline in the dictionary, the definition is getting someone to do something through like a threat, basically, like getting someone to do something by threatening them, or like by force in some way, which is not what we're doing. But there is something, there's a whole methodology called conscious discipline, which is really, really beautiful. And a lot of teachers, actually many teachers, more and more, are studying it and bringing it into the classroom. And it's really about creating discipline, creating structure, right? Without those threats and bribes. It's not that we're letting our children just get away with doing anything. And I think that that's a really important key thing to be able to share, to be able to feel really strong, to feel really good in the way that you're choosing to parent. And to be able to say, it's not that I'm letting my child just do whatever they want. It's that I'm building communication with them. I'm figuring out different ways to respectfully, get them to do the things that they need to do that in a way that is building our connection, that is building our relationship. Somebody recently, actually off topic, but not off topic, somebody recently told me, I was in a conversation with another woman, and she runs a camp. And she said that a lot of parents come to ask her questions about parenting. And she said that, like, children are so much more defiant. And I thought that that was interesting. And I told her, what I teach and what I believe is that and basically she was saying it kind of like in a negative way, like it's so much harder to parent these days because children are so much more defiant. And I don't think that that has to be a bad thing, right? We are focusing on building our children's voices, on making sure that they know what they have to say is really important. Should it be said in a respectful way? Yes. Should it be said in a way that doesn't hurt anyone else around them? Absolutely. But we want them to be strong in what they believe. And we're fostering that. It doesn't mean that we're teaching our children that they get to call the shots, right? We have lots of classes and content on here about boundaries, right? And when it's time to get into bed, it's time to get into bed. When it's time to turn off the TV or get to school, this is the time. We're not saying like, okay, you choose when you're going to do that, right? But it's about how we do it. Do we do it by coming from a place of power, by threatening, by bribing, by putting our children down? Or do we do it from a place of lifting them up so that they want to cooperate with us, so that they want to be respectful, they want to have this beautiful, deep relationship with us? And so that's a great way to answer the question. What do I tell people when they ask me if I'm, why I'm not disciplining my children, or what about discipline? It depends on how you define discipline. But for us in conscious parenting, it's not about letting our children do whatever they want. It's finding the way to build cooperation and communication, remembering that our child is a person with lots of feelings and emotions, and we want to nurture that so that they can grow into fully functioning adults. And also we can have a long-term relationship with them, which makes all of us happy. So I think that that is a great way to answer people when they have that question for you. Okay, let's see. What is your consequence when your child is being disrespectful, calling you names, nine-year-old child? So here's the thing. I do believe that there has to be sometimes natural consequences, right? If you don't know how to turn off the TV, maybe we can't turn the TV on. It's not that I don't want to, it's not a punishment. It's just like, if we can't turn it off, then maybe we shouldn't turn it on. But when your child is speaking disrespectfully, a consequence is not going to teach them to speak more respectfully. It's just not. I wish it did, kind of. I don't really, because I don't believe in them, but it won't. It's not going to help. So you can give them a consequence. It's not going to teach them anything. It's going to make you feel better in a moment, because you're going to feel, oh, I'm so powerful, I showed them. Or you're going to be helping to answer that little voice in your head that's saying, right, I need to show my child, or I need to give them a consequence to be the parent that is in control. But it's not going to help. When your child's speaking disrespectfully, there's a reason. There's something going on inside of them that they need to get out, that they need to heal, that they need to talk about. There's something bothering them. If they're speaking disrespectfully to you, they're taking it out on you, absolutely, and they need to learn not to do that. But right now, you are the safe place that they can take things out on, and better out than in, right? So no, we don't want to teach our children to speak disrespectfully, and it's not okay. But we have to understand that there's a reason why they're speaking disrespectfully. And the reason that they're speaking disrespectfully is going to be different for every child. And it's our job to figure that out. And by just giving them a consequence, you're not helping them to take out what they're feeling inside. You're just basically telling them it's not important. And it's getting buried deeper and deeper. That doesn't feel good. And then they're going to speak disrespectfully again and again and again. So what do we do when a child speaks disrespectfully? We first of all have a lot of empathy, and there's nothing that you have to do just right away, right? What you can do is allow your child the space to feel like to speak. You don't have to have an answer in the moment. So you hold a lot of empathy for them. Okay. You just let them do it. You're not saying, yes, great, you should speak like this, but you're not getting really reactive in that moment, because that just fuels it. And then you end up in a power struggle and nobody's happy. So it's about noticing, like, what is it that they're feeling? Why are they feeling? What are they feeling right now? Giving them the space to do it. And then asking them, like, I noticed that you spoke in a way that I know goes beyond your integrity. I know, isn't the way that I feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable when you talk to me like that. I'm really not okay with it. And I bet you don't feel comfortable when you talk like that either. So I wonder, can you share with me why you were speaking that way? Like, what's really bothering you? And they may or may not be able to articulate that right away. But by letting them know that something's going on, right? You're creating a safe space where they will eventually feel comfortable to come talk to you about it. They will. And they may be open to you digging together, and you can say, like, can we put our heads together and figure out why you're talking like this? Or you can say, can I guess a few reasons? Or they might say, like, I don't want to talk about it, and say, okay, no problem. I totally respect that. Let me know when you do want to talk about it, right? And the next step, when you know what it is that's bothering them, the next step to then take is, how next time when something like this comes up, what can we do so that you don't speak disrespectfully? Because I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm not saying that you can't talk about it. I'm not saying that you can't come and let me know what you're feeling. And I want you to know that I'm here for you when you do speak disrespectfully. It's going to happen again, and it's okay. I get it. But what can I do to help nurture you so that you're not feeling that all the time? What can I do to help nurture you so that you can speak respectfully next time something's bothering you? Because again, I bet that feeling of disrespect doesn't feel good for you either. And I promise you it doesn't. Your child doesn't feel good when they speak disrespectfully. They're not like, yeah, I'm powerful and awesome. Usually we all feel really bad when we've gotten ourselves to a moment when we're disrespectful or angry or upset. We feel really bad. So we want to help nurture our children so that they feel, first of all, accepted, and it's okay that they spoke disrespectfully, meaning it's okay that they have all those feelings, but now we need to switch the way that we're communicating with each other. Consequences won't really help that. It just won't, because you're not giving your child the space to feel, you're shutting it down, and it doesn't help any of the reason why they're feeling that disrespect. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for your amazing questions. I really hope they helped you. A lot of times when I answer questions, they help me because I'm like, oh, this is really good, content or a really good idea to use with my own kids because I'm human too. And sometimes we forget it when we're in those challenging moments. So I hope that helps. Keep the questions coming. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.